Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Tuesday the 9th of October. So looking at the euro dollar, and well, it's struggling, and it's struggling because of the Italian debt situation, which and budget situation, which is still not helping it whatsoever. Did manage a bit of a bounce yesterday afternoon, but it's given away, and it doesn't seem to be able to hang on to any gains at the moment. So where to this morning? Well, it's a bit of a iffy one. We do still have the weekly pivot above us. There's a potential for that, and we're not that far away from it. In fact, we're sort of quite range bound effectively. I said about the potential yesterday down to the S1 and then the previous day's lows. Well, sure, it all happened as it happened. So that's where we're sort of sitting between that sort of range and the 1550 area. Where to today? Well, we've already been down to sort of almost the bodies of the yesterday's candles there, and it's pitched up. Maybe it's got a chance of running back down to the S1. But this morning, if we start seeing it push up, well, chances are it may get back into sort of the R1 territory, daily R1, and maybe even that weekly pivot above us. But it's not a clear old picture when you look at it, and it's just consolidating. It looks like, if anything, if we start seeing another run down below this sort of 1462 area, we could see a bit more of a rollover, a continuation to the downside at least. So not the most bullish, but we'll see how it runs post 8 o'clock. Cable's been doing its best to hang on to any gains it makes, and well, as you can see, it's in this sort of relatively comfortable-ish upward trend at the moment, arguably. Not on a daily point of view totally, but it's back above its that trend line that was sitting there, and well, yesterday it came down, it made some lows midday-ish, and then it's pitched off since then. It hasn't sold off quite so strongly. There is obviously a bit of a sell-off here, but not majorly. Now again, well, I say again, we're already through the weekly pivot. Now it's a case of looking at, are we going to get up to that daily R1, yesterday's highs, then the daily R1 in this sort of current move. Have still got the high lows, high highs situation. This is the sort of crunch here, because if we start selling through yesterday's lows, well then we're in a dip and we're back downwards. But it certainly seemed like it was back risk off yesterday, and we saw it with the yen earlier on, pitching, selling off quite strongly there. The dollar yen monthly pivot still in somewhere in reach, but it's teasing into a weekly S2 already, so it's quite pinched this week relatively, and it's it's already done it's done more as much range in a day effectively as it did over much of a week there. Where to at the moment is the risk going to start coming on again, and we start getting some movement. We'll see. It's at the moment, well, just pushing up towards the daily pivot there. Beyond that, we've got the 60-50 probably key. It does look all a bit bearish. I mean, it's a bit late. It's too late to trade it, but the 50-200 bearish, the death cross there, bearish signal. But well, we'll see how this does. Is it starts pushing above, hitting into that pivot, will it have confirmed a higher low? Maybe it's got more upside potential, but with the fact that money's just running straight back to the dollar yen, if we're seeing risk, it sort of changes the dynamics of some of these pairings. Aussie dollar. So Aussie dollar, I was talking about it weak. It did actually manage the best bounce yesterday in the end, and it is looking like it could continue, as it sort of looks like it could continue towards that weekly pivot. There was divergence yesterday, and it did manage to hold on to most of its gains there. Where to? Well, it's high lows, high highs on this 60-minute. It's a short-term sort of movement. It has the potential to pick up their very tight ranges. not the most solid looking pairing at the moment, but as I said, erring back towards that weekly pivot. Canadian dollar ran into some resistance, particularly on the Ichimoku cloud yesterday. Sitting there, ran straight back into that yesterday, and has rolled over from that, but going back towards that area at the moment. It's sort of getting a bit more bullish on some of the shorter time frames. If you look at 4 hourly, for example, higher lows, higher highs coming through this, as it's been pretty much since early last week, and that's continuing at the moment. Does have a weekly pivot below, so any sell off at some stage it may become a target, but at the moment it's continuing to push to the upside. And we've just looking at what's going on here. Yep, just pushing up there at the moment. It's this morning, maybe if we see a failure of these lows here, if it starts failing, maybe the S1 maybe in sort of line. It's done a big retracement yesterday afternoon there, and well, it's as I say, if it fails this morning at some point, it fails those the bottom there, it may roll back over towards the S1. But at the moment, looking up on for yesterday's highs in the R1, or the R1 then the yesterday's highs. That is pretty much it for today. There's news-wise, just I may have confused a few people yesterday, but it was a US bank holiday and Canadian bank holiday, not a UK bank holiday, just in case they thought they got up and they thought it shouldn't be going to work. Today we've got absolutely nothing in the way of significant news, so we're sort of left to we've got a Broadbent speaking Bank of England speaker talking or the Economic Affairs before he's testifying before the Economic Affairs Committee at 3:35. There may be other speakers around that, but he's got the headline there, so watch out this afternoon, 3ish. We may get some volatility coming through on the pound. That's it for me. Have a great day. Bye for now.